change gears a little bit and talk about the youth softball, baseball complex. Again, we did a master plan, and we own 47 acres by just off of Highway 33, Academy Road. Hospital sits here, Job Corps. There's 3 existing fields. The plan was to add 3 new softball fields with the ideal that if we did the softball complex first, they would be constructed in a way where you could play baseball on those fields until we did the Little League complex. And our goal was to relocate the Little League complex out of the Cottonwood Flats floodplain to this site. The goal is to create, for future operation and maintenance, create an all sports authority similar to the Edmond All Sports Authority. In the past, we've had individual agreements with the different baseball, softball, soccer groups. This would put it all under one umbrella. The entry fees, concession stand sales are to pay for operations and routine field maintenance. Major improvements and significant maintenance would, of course, fall back on the city. But mowing, routine maintenance would be under the Sports Authority is the concept. Phase 1, again, we talked about refurbishing the 3 existing fields, construct 3 new ones, new concession stand, asphalt parking lots, and entry road. The budget for that was $5.7 million. And then if you look at, and over $1 million of it was site prep, dirt work. On phase 2, the Little League baseball relocation from Cottonwood Flats, it was looking at construction of 6 new fields, 2 each fields for Little League, 10 and under, T-ball, 8 and under, new concession stand, restroom building, parking lots, entry road, just under $5 million. So total project, if you look at it, was for phase 1 and 2, softball and baseball was $10.5 million. We wanted to at least get this kick-started, and so we scaled down phase 1, the softball field complex, to a $2 million project so that we thought that would be competitive with $1 million land and water conservation grant application and $1 million of local matching funds coming from the CIP sales tax that was passed several years ago. And if I remember correctly, the state got roughly $6 million, $5 to $6 million. We got $1 million of that. So we did quite well on the percentage of state funds they got for land and water conservation. So that scaled down project did not make any improvements to the 3 existing fields, but we would construct 3 new softball fields, install lighting on one of the fields, do a 1,300 square foot concession restroom building, quick connects for irrigation at each field. We would have rock parking lots with curb and gutter, extend water line, and take care of sanitary sewer. So it is a scaled back project, but it does get us started. I would point out that we were notified on March 8th, we got it. But it has to go through a section 106 historic preservation review. After they approve the grant, it's got to go to the Historic Preservation Office. It's got to go through the Archaeological Survey. It's got to go to the National Park Service. They got to come out and inspect the site. Then you get the project grant agreement and get started. I looked back because I thought, got it. We should be getting started on that project. It was an 8-month process on Mineral Wells from the time they notified it till when we got the grant agreement.
So we're talking first of the year, probably with winter.
Well, we have reached out to the grant administrator, and we may get in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
No,
So
that'd be
maybe a
nice.
little quicker. But I thought, patience is probably not one of my best virtues. And I wonder, why don't we have it when we start? But if you look back on the Mineral Wells grant, it took a while as well. So next steps, what we would propose at staff is to take the 3 existing fields and do a budget of each existing field, new fencing, field lighting, backstop, dugouts, newly graded outfields and infields with irrigation system, and then bleachers, and do a budget for each field individually, and then come up with some kind of, you've seen some of the presentations we've done lately, T-Mobile, others, do a similar professional presentation and go to some corporations to see if we could not get sponsorship for those 3 fields. I just randomly picked names out of the hat on who we would go to first. So those are hypothetical. We have had some conversations, but that's what I think is one option we might have to address our 3 existing softball fields.
DNS.
Chris is going to take charge on that.
DNS. All right, I'll talk to you.
On relocation of the Little League complex out of Cottonwood Flats, back in 2020, as a result of the flood we had in 2019, Department of Commerce received $36 million to address damage that occurred as a result of that federal disaster. The lion's share of it will be going to other counties, but there's $7 million that we would be eligible for. We're still waiting, even though they got the money in 2020, for them to come up with the program guidelines and how we can apply for that money. We call them about every 3 months to ask them if they got the program set up so we can apply. The other, of course, is community project earmarking that we asked for, one of the 5 projects for earmarking. When the Public Works bill goes through Congress, there may be some other funding that we can look at. One of the things, we didn't talk about it last year because of COVID, but we thought it would be appropriate now to at least throw this out in the mix of discussion of our hotel occupancy tax. Of course, hotel occupancy taxes are extremely common. They're an attractive source of revenue to local governments because the perception is it's paid by outside area paid tax, not local residents. It's politically easy because voters don't pay the tax typically. Hotel and travel industry generally oppose hotel occupancy tax and increases. It appears that that's placated to some degree if that money's being used for things that promote heads and beds, people being in motels. Of course, the impact of hotel occupancy taxes on hotel demand can be debated for several meetings probably. But if the demand is inelastic, meaning if tax goes up, it has the number of rooms occupied don't go down. Again, it's a debatable topic, but there's numerous studies showing that the demand is indeed price inelastic, that this rate has little impact on the occupancy in motels. I would point out though that That's talking in generalities. There are wide array of factors that can influence that impact on specific motels. Like small motels might be more impacted than large hotels. One geographic area may be more impacted by a motel tax rate increase than others. So there are some variables, even though generally it's thought that it has very little impact. These are comparable hotel rates by tax rate by community. Eufaula is the highest at 9%. You can see there's a group at 8%. Ardmore, Lawton, Sand Springs at 7%. We're at 4% now. Edmond and Stillwater's at 4%, but it's our understanding Edmond and Stillwater are at least looking at going to 5% currently. So there may be some movement with some of the communities that's in our bracket at 4%. Would point out from sports fields, travel is an integral part of youth sports. Families and friends are willing to make the trip to see young competitors. Always have a fancy term for everything, tournications. Tournament vacations are a trend. It's just like we see at Lazy E with some of their events. Mom and dad and grandparents all, that's their vacation for the year, is to come to those kids' events. Same way with baseball and softball. Some of them, that's their vacation. Tournaments typically require overnight stay for participants. If you talk to city staff and others that have kids in softball and baseball competitions, and some of them play in adult leagues, they can give you details about how much they spend for motels and groceries and restaurants. I just picked one example that I looked online, and I just grabbed the first one. In 2008 in Hays, Kansas, and we can do an updated one. But at that time, they were building 8 baseball, softball fields, 4 football fields, and 4 soccer fields. An $8 billion investment back at that time. They were projected they would host 38 tournaments a year, 7 for youth softball, 16 for adult softball, 12 for youth baseball, 2 for soccer, and 1 football. They projected over 25,000 visitors for those tournaments with an average of $92.81 per visitor. Of course, you know, you're going to have mom and dad in the same motel and stuff. But if you average it out per visitor for motels, restaurants, shopping, and other activities, that annual impact was about $2.3 million. The tournaments they projected to bring in the most revenue was soccer, youth softball, and youth baseball. And when they did a survey, 81% of the survey respondents said a nice new facility would increase their likelihood of attending a scheduled tournament. Everybody likes to go to the nice new shiny places. We all know that. If you look at our motel tax collection history, in 2017 for budget year, our motel tax generated $202,000 if you round it up. In 18 it was $236,000. In 19 it went back down to $209,000. The impact of the pandemic in FY20, our revenue was $171,000, about $18,000 less than 2019. Would point out that the pandemic recovery is temporary in nature. It will happen. We will recover. And if you look for the first 9 months of 2021, is 133 compared to the first 9 months of 2020. So it's up 11,000 or 9%. So it does show that it looks like we're making a recovery. And if you compare March, April, and May of 20 versus 21 budget, you can see those 3 months are significantly up. But I looked at the 3-year average and didn't take 2020. I took 17, 18, and 19. About 215,000 was the 3-year average. So if you look at that, we're currently at 4%. 66% goes to tourism promotion, 33% goes to parks, 5% to admin. Currently, none of that 4% goes to sports fields. If you earmarked any increase to sports fields, improvements and major maintenance, if you did 5%, the increase plus the 5% admin fee would generate $51,000 a year to go to the sports field. And you can see if you did 6, 7, 8, staff's not proposing any particular rate increase. We're just bringing the information to you to give you the information. But if you did an 8%, which is the max, it would generate $200,000 a year for sports field. And over a 10-year period, at 5%, it would be $500,000. At 8%, it would be $2 million. And over 15 years, $3 million at 8%. So there'll be a lot of discussion, I'm sure, but this could be another thing that goes to the fee and rate committee to look at and come back with a recommendation. It could go to the finance committee. I'm sure there will be a lot of discussion before decisions made. Another item that would point out that we might want to consider, Guthrie only collects motel tax from hotels and participating bed and breakfast, but not from Airbnbs. Airbnb corporate will not enter into agreements with small municipalities. They only deal with the Oklahoma Tax Commission. We can restructure where we have Oklahoma Tax Commission collect for us, and they do all hotels, B&Bs, Airbnbs within the city limits. It's not an either or. You either do them all through Oklahoma Tax Commission or you don't. The Oklahoma Tax Commission has an agreement with Airbnb to collect lodging tax for host. We would need to modify our ordinance to do that. There would be a 0.5% fee from the tax commission, and we could adjust our 5% administrative fee accordingly to account for that 0.5% fee they charge.
Why would we have, I'm sorry, why would we even continue with the administrative fee at that point?
We would still have to do some paperwork, but
Yeah.
I mean, we could
adjust
reassign
it,
the fee.
yeah.
That could be up for discussion. This is just on the timing of when, if you decide to do this. Currently, these are the city-county lodging tax that's being collected by OTC. With that, I'd be glad to answer questions from the city council.
So currently, we don't, the Oklahoma Tax Commission doesn't collect any hotel motel tax?
Correct.
Hotels, motel, no?
Correct.
For us?
Correct.
Yes. I'm sorry. For us.
Yeah.
Questions by, any questions, council? Okay.
Thank you all.
I think there were a couple individuals in the audience that might want to make a couple comments on this. Is that true? Gary? You want to start? Got 5 minutes. Identify yourself, address.
My name's Gary Good, 323 West Cleveland Avenue here in Guthrie. Hotel motel tax, for me, I'm looking at who's the competitors in the area. And our competitors are Edmond and Stillwater. That's our major two competitors. Taking consideration our sales tax differences, Stillwater charges 12.813 tax for a hotel room total. Edmond 12.25% total tax for a hotel room. Guthrie 13%. So we're above both of our competitors right now. Even if we go up 1%, we're standing alone. The Lazy E has on their website, we're on there, I represent Guthrie Bed and Breakfast Association. And we are listed, if you go to lazye.com and go on Plan Your Stay, look at the hotel rooms listed. You'll see the hotels that are listed in Guthrie, Bed and Breakfast Association, and then you'll see Edmond. I had 2 bookings from Lazy E this last year, period. And from what I'm hearing, Edmond is getting those rooms. I think HC will bring up something along that line with events that have been lost to Edmond. So my concern is, I mean, I love baseball. I think more baseball, less trouble. More kids playing baseball, the better. So I'm all for more fields. I'm all for sports as much as possible. I just would hope that when you're discussing this and looking at budgets, that you consider there's 6 bed and breakfasts in Guthrie right now. We are called Guthrie is called the Oklahoma Bed and Breakfast Capital right now because we claim that. And that's what we have on our website, and that's what we say. One of the bed and breakfasts is for sale right now. We're hoping that who buys it will join our association. That's not guaranteed. But if we bump our hotel motel tax up, I think that we will diminish and more the bed and breakfast will just become apartments, and you get 0 taxes on apartment rentals. So I just think I would really ask that you, while you're meeting whatever committees, that you consider that if we rise above our competitors, then we're really at a disadvantage here in Guthrie with our hospitality, especially with our Airbnbs and bed and breakfast. And I will point out that I do pay the hotel tax for Airbnb bookings, and I do that through Kim every year. And I would hope that all the rest of the association members do that as well. Thank you.
That was my question.
Yes.
How many of those do we have here? Do we know?
That's a good question.
The Airbnb?
We don't have anything to do with that, our association.
I'm just curious, because we're not collecting that. Is it significant?
We don't have a good count.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I have some that I have listed because I always try to help people find rooms, like, when we don't have rooms and our other association members don't have rooms. I have a few of them that I have phone numbers for, but I don't know all of them.
Now, let me ask another thing. On the 2 rooms that were booked during last year's Lazy E deal, couldn't that be because of COVID? They were restricted to stay on site pretty much, weren't they? Well, that particular event, yes, but they've had a lot of events since then. There was one that we had 2 rooms booked. We should have had all of our rooms booked because it was a big event, and we got 2 bookings out of that. I don't know if any of the other B&Bs had bookings, so I think we're losing bookings to Edmond for Lazy E events, and that's a real problem for us.
Do you think those people looked at, I'm just pulling numbers here, say it's $100 stay in your room for the night. You think those people looked at it and went, oh, Guthrie's $1 higher than Edmond is, let's go to Edmond?
I don't know the answer to that. All I know is, as a businessman, it doesn't seem like a wise move to raise our rates above our surrounding cities. That's the main thing. I don't know the answer to that, though.
Yeah, I could see it, a big percentage or something, but
Well,
I just wonder if it really had, the 1/4% or whatever, if that has
I think-
that big of a bearing on it or not.
I think a lot might be the new hotels coming up on Covell and maybe even our
Well,
hotels.
and if you
taking
look
from
at it
that.
this way, as things move north from Edmond, if we raise our percent to whatever, and Edmond is below us still, total room cost, because our sales tax is a little higher, then what happens when these other hotels move closer to Guthrie and right on the edge, whether it's Waterloo or whatever, right up to the edge of Logan County? And they take even more of our business. I mean, people that plan trips, and a lot of them are planned by people who book, and they check on these things. They
Maybe
call-
I'm the exception, but when
Well, I
I'm
think
booking a
we're
room.
losing a lot to I don't stay in a hotel anymore. I stay at Airbnbs.
Well, that's what I'm curious, if we looked at that, how much revenue could be gained on
I believe that
using the
if,
OTC to
if,
collect?
I don't like them.
I believe that if the city would really look at getting a handle on all the Airbnbs that are listed, and it's pretty easy to find, you just have to take the time to do it, and require them to pay hotel
I
motel
think our
tax.
best thing is to take all of it to the Oklahoma Tax Commission.
Because they've got to deal with Airbnb, and
They
they're
do.
automatically gonna collect the
And the
tax
hotels
up
as
front.
well.
They
They
withhold
should be collecting
sales
it.
tax. I don't have to do that with Airbnb. But then at the end of the quarter or whatever, I get with Kim and I go through my list, which ones of those were Airbnbs, and I've got them all marked. Then I pay taxes on those, because they don't withhold that. So,
And we appreciate it.
yes, I do. So any other questions for me?
Appreciate you.
Okay,
Thank you.
AC?
My name is H.C. Patel. I manage a Sleep Inn here in town, which is 414 Heather Road. I'm all in favor with the sports complex. We do need other revenue streams coming into Guthrie. That's the bottom line. Lazy E is dried up pretty fast for us. And like I think someone mentioned that the new things are nice and bright and shiny. I'm one of those which is not new and it's not bright and shiny anymore. So basically, we do need something like this, and I'm all in favor. But we got a long way to go of what that lodging tax is going to be used for the sports complex. And is it going to be grandfathered out, or is it just going to stay forever? Where do we cap it out? Is it 1%, 4%, 3%? How do we utilize that money? I hear we got all these grants and the stimulus package or coming through the government right now. How do we utilize that money to take care of the sports complex we're looking at right now? Can we get more money
And I
to
think
get the
that's one-
economy going?
That's
you
one of
know.
the things that's in the discussion.
Yeah.
I think what was listed
Yeah.
there was potential
Yeah.
operating costs.
Cost, yeah.
That would go to cover that, which are going to be recurring, obviously. But there could be a multitude of things. Do you see that that there would be revenue generated by?
Oh, definitely,
there
yeah.
being more people
I-
coming and staying at your place or?
I hope so.
B&Bs or, yeah.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to having something like that, people coming in, families coming in. And I know for a fact they do travel a lot. I know a lot of families here in Guthrie, they go for sports events, baseball or softball with their kids, going out of town. And I know I helped someone out a couple of weeks ago because they went to Dallas-Fort Worth for their child.
Are you noticing an uptick in rooms this
No.
year so far, no?
I
mean,
would
from
say
last year?
March and April was very good,
That's good.
but May was flat, completely flat.
Wonder why.
We did, like even for graduation, we were up a little bit, but, a concept which I hear from people around Guthrie is, oh, you gotta be 100%, there's an event going on in Lazy E. It doesn't work that way. Like, there's an event going on this week at Lazy E, barrel racing. I think I got 3 rooms.
I guess my question is, what's the responsibility of the hotels and motels to go out and market to get that business? What are those Edmond hotels doing to market themselves to get that business? Because just being on the Lazy's website, that's not marketing.
Oh, I know, it's not marketing. Yeah. Beats me what they're doing, and a lot of it does. And Lazy E is very proactive in how much money you give them to start off with, how they want to, in their.
Well, if
And-
Lazy
and-
is,
and I gotta
mean,
say
they're
one
obviously
thing.
getting some.
They're getting some.
Well,
kickback
it's not that how they're marketing the whole city. I do gotta say, you know, when we get these events coming in, they want a restaurant to go to eat. They want variety. They want a place at night which is gonna stay open where they can have a drink when they finish with their event.
So where is that? Right at Covell and Edmond, it's not, there's nothing really there. There's a hotel there, Shiny New, there's a Starbucks.
But how far is it? It's
Huh?
a 5-minute drive to Second Street.
Yeah.
You got Suna, which is
Yeah.
completely open. You don't even have to get on the interstate anymore.
Okay.
Not 5 minutes over.
Appreciate your.
Thank you.
AC.
So we
And
need to
I'm-
open a bar.
We have, and one more, Chris, you've got,
I'll be quick and easy.
4 minutes.
I'll keep you on schedule, I promise. Chris Evans, 2016 Gloria Place. Like Larry Rory showed you on the Fort Hays, Kansas deal, I'll show you my latest deal. We went to Elk City this weekend for a baseball tournament. Our coach said, hey, we got these rooms, well, we went to Elk City, we couldn't get a room in Elk City because all the rooms were booked up, so we had to stay in Clinton. And our baseball coach said, hey, we have 10 rooms, better call and get booked up right now. And so we did that. The sales tax in Clinton was 5%. They have a city sales tax of 9.5%. We spent 14.5%. My family spent $400 this weekend in between Elk City and Clinton. That counts 3 trips to Sonic. So that was $400. We have 12 kids on the team. And they all obviously stayed night as well. So there's some. Elk City has outstanding fields. They're 2 hours away, so they have to do something. But they're all in on their complex. So that's just an example. I'm not saying we have to be Elk City. If we're half of that, I'd be happy with that. But we didn't look at the hotel rate before we said, the coach said, we got hotel rooms at this one, call now, get them booked. It turned out to be 5%.
That's what I was wondering. Did you know what that tax rate was?
I knew to get my bill, itemized bill, to look at that, to know that.
Well, that's what I started to say earlier. Normally, when I book one, if I'm using an app or something, you book the room and it, does what it does. And it was $100 room and then your total's 114 or whatever. You go, oh yeah, there was some tax on it. To me, I never see it or care or think about
Yeah.
what it is. And I'm not saying let's just make it as high as it could be either, but I think that's the way a lot of people do it. They book the room and just figure that there's tax involved in the thing.
Our hotel room was $96, 9.5% city sales tax, 5% lodging tax.
So, but your spend was about 4 times what Leroy's projection was on the Kansas deal.
This weekend was 400. This coming week, we're going to Perry, so we're not going to stay the night. So, but we're still going to eat because the tournament directors know to put 2 hours in between our ball games and we'll go eat and go get a Sonic drink.
But I think what these guys are talking about, when we look at, like, when I travel to Austin or Dallas or something, you don't even think about it. You just get your hotel and go.
Correct.
And then taxes through the ceiling in Austin, it's through the roof.
I think that's the majority of people, and that's not everybody, but that's the majority,
But
super majority.
This is small town here, so these rooms, when you got 9 or 10 rooms, that's a big effect on your, on revenue. And so I think that if we just went and, without beating a dead horse, go look at all these Airbnbs through the OTC, that may make up the difference, and this conversation might not even be taking place.
Or it doesn't have to be either or.
It doesn't have to be either or, it could be both.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Does
Any other
Sam pay for all
questions?
that?
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Council?
Not scholarship.
HC?
I'm not more looking at what the lodging tax was.
No, I mean, but you had.
Quick, you got 1 minute.
My concern is not increasing the lodging. I have no problem if it, I have a problem 4%, but like 1 or 2%, no problem. It's how it's going to be utilized, how it's going to be used. That's mine.
Hear you.
That's my concern. If we want to grandfather in for 100 years, I don't think that cuts it. If it's a specific item which is going to benefit the sports complex, plus the city and the hotels.
You just want it to go towards what it's going for,
Going
not
for.
just be thrown.
Yeah,
in.
not just thrown in the kitty as a general fund. And
Right.
you know what, and like Chris just said, he spent that kind of money, but how much was spent on restaurants, oil, gas? Is it worth putting 0.25% on our regular sales tax? We'll make a lot more money.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're adjourned.